We're going to solve a word problem using the law of sines. So here's the problem. A plane is sighted at the same time by two people who are 3,100 feet apart on the same side of the plane. The angles of elevation of the plane from the two people are 11 degrees and 18 degrees. How high is the plane? As is often the case, being able to solve this problem will be helped by drawing a picture. So let me draw a picture. It doesn't have to be a thing of beauty, but it does need to get the relevant information onto the picture. So here's my plane. Don't laugh at that. And we're going to have two people over here that are on the same side of the plane. And they are 3,100 feet apart. So let's label that. This is 3,100 feet. I don't know what the scale would be. I don't know how high the plane is, but that's okay. So now let's draw the line segments that will allow us to put in the angles of elevation. Let's see, this is the smaller of the two angles. This is the other angle we have right here. So this angle is the smaller of the two, so it must be 11 degrees. And this angle right here is 18 degrees. And the question is, how high is the plane? So if I draw this segment right here and make it perpendicular to the ground, that's what I'm trying to find. And let's call it H. So our task is to solve this problem right here for H. It is possible to solve this problem using right triangle trig only by setting up a system of equations, but we're going to make use of the law of sines to solve it. Let me get rid of the wording here since we have the essence of the problem on the paper. And I want you to be able to see the work. So here we are. My goal is to find this side right here in this oblique triangle. We know this angle, we know this side, and we're going to figure out the other two angles. If we do that, we'll be able to find this side right here. I'm going to call that X. If we know the length of X, we'll be able to use our right triangle trig to find H. So let's jump in. If this angle is 18 degrees, we know this one would be 162 degrees because we know that they have to add up to 180. Similarly, because we know this angle is 162 and this is 11 degrees, these two add up to 173. We know the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees, so that means this angle up here is 7 degrees. And I said a nice picture is helpful. I almost drew this one too small, but let's continue anyway. Now we can use the law of sines to find this value right here, the length of this side, which I called X. So we have this angle, and the side opposite is what we're trying to find. So we have sine of 11 degrees over X equals, and notice we have this angle and the side opposite. The sine of 7 degrees over 3,100. And now we can use our algebra to solve this. If we multiply both sides by 3,100 times X, or just cross multiply, we will get X times the sine of 7 degrees equals 3,100 times the sine of 11 degrees. When we divide by the sine of 7 degrees, we'll have this. And then we can use our calculator to figure out the value for X, or the approximate value. We do have the value right here. That's its exact value. If we punch it into our calculator, we'll get X is approximately 4,853 and 62 100ths. So 4,853.62 feet, approximately. Now, I put more decimal places more in this problem than I normally would, because we're going to be using that value of x to do a further calculation. I didn't want to round too far since I was going to be using it to calculate this. But now we have a triangle that's a right triangle where one side is known and we're trying to find another side. We don't need the law of sines for solving this right triangle. And by the way, you can use the law of sines, but it's just a bigger tool than we need. So now we have the sine of 18 degrees equals, and as I'm pointing out, it's opposite over hypotenuse. That's why we don't need the law of sines. It equals h over the 4853.62. Multiply both sides by that denominator. Times the sine of 18 degrees. So we have the height is approximately 1,500 feet. So I might even answer it in words since it was a word problem. The plane is about 1,500 feet high. So we made good use of the law of sines to be able to solve this word problem.